All right. So James Joyce was born. No, okay. So I kind of do have to start from there, all right? Because I'll do what I need to do. All right. This is my talk. Welcome to my TED Talk. Okay. Um, so Joyce wrote four books, right? And all of them he was born in Ireland, right? Um, but he left Ireland to go to continental Europe. He lived in Paris and Zurich for most of his life. And he wrote all of his books, all of his four books, when he was not living in Ireland, but they're all set in Dublin, um, all just based off his memories, and they all are of increasing ambition and complexity, with Ulysses taking 7 years and then this taking 17 years to write. And basically, what this book is it's like the entirety of like humanity, like compressed into a zip file. Uh, and I'm like not joking. Literally, it's like everything you can imagine like is in this book. Uh, and it basically tells it just he basically like tries to like tell the story of like just everything, uh, and kind of does it at once. And it's all like in a dream. Um, and so it sort of uses like the sort of way that things meld and mesh together in dreams is like the most kind of efficient way to do something like that, because when you look at like human history and like all of these different things in different like areas of knowledge and whatever, you they do kind of like overlap in all of these like weird ways, and like using a dream as like the vehicle to tell that story of humanity is like the best way to do that. So like the title Finnegans Wake uh, is literally like you'll notice that there's no apostrophe in Finnegans. That's because it's supposed to refer to all of the Finnegans who've ever been, and it's literally Finn again. So it's end, Finn, and then again. So it ends, and then again you wake. And literally the whole thing is a loop. So you'll notice that the first word here doesn't start with a capital letter. That's because this is actually in the middle of a sentence, and
Are you fucking serious, dude?
continues into this one. The last sentence of the book is ends with away along lost the river run past Eve and Adams, and then it continues, and it's basically like an endless cycle, right? And so basically like this first page is so genius because it kind of shows you how like it's like a fractal basically, right? So you have like basically you have the entire story is told in this one word, and then the entire story is told in this sentence, and then the entire story is told in this paragraph, and it's basically then like it's told in this page, and it like sort of expands outwards. So you might be asking, okay, how the fuck does River Run tell the whole story? And I'll tell you, okay? I'll tell you how it tells the whole story, because this is everything, okay? This is like everything it is. You have a combination of so many things. I actually, years ago, when I was like doing a tour of my shelf on stream, I picked out one of the books, and it was a collection of poems by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and in it, who was like he was a British poet in the 17th, sorry, 18th century, and he translated a bunch of stuff to German as well. And Joyce takes a lot of inspiration, particularly from like German stuff in this. I mean, from all over the world, but in particular because uh, yeah. Anyway, so in uh, Samuel Taylor Coleridge he's not like a super well-renowned poet, but there is this one poem that he wrote called Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a gay dream again, um, where he woke up from a dream, and he quickly went to write down the like the vision that he had in the dream, and he got like interrupted while he was writing. But Joyce once said in a letter that if he had finished that poem, that it probably would have been the best poem ever written. Um, and so in that poem literally um, it starts with In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man down to a sunless sea, right? And so you have the river ran there, right? And then literally in Genesis, you have a river going out of Eden to the water in the garden, right? Where it parts and becomes four heads. And then um, this is also a reference to words in French, reverie, which means dream, right? So you have reverie in there as well. And then in German, I think it's like Einerung or Erinnerung, which is also for a remembrance or a memory. Um, and then reverend, which is like a member of the clergy. And then also, yeah, in Genesis, it has the river coming out of Eden. And then in Revelation, uh, it says the pure river of life comes out of the throne or whatever, right? So you have at the beginning and the end of the Bible, you have this imagery of the rivers running, right? And then also all throughout humanity, you have humanity always clusters around rivers because they're like this source of like life and like irrigation and agriculture and everything. And yeah, so and that's like that's not even like the that's not even like the half of it. There's like a bunch of other stuff to do with this. There's also like some like Irish stuff that has to do with that. But basically, then it's also like the river itself is like he gives the river like this sort of like female embodiment because it's like this life-giving sort of thing throughout the earth. And then there's also like the cycle of water like passing through the river and going out to the sea, which mirrors kind of like the dream state where it like flows down this river and then it like flows out into the sea is like the sort of ending of it. And then it's like this, yeah, basically just this cycle. It's like it becomes a little bit more clear the more you read like how that sort of relates to it. And yeah, the nice thing about this page is you can kind of just like click any of these and it'll like take you to so yeah, if I go to riverrun, it'll give you like a bunch of stuff here. And then yeah, this is another one, river run. And that's this is really important in the middle, okay? Because uh yeah, the is to make a mistake, right? And the name of the book comes from Finnegans Wake, which it's basically this old Irish song that's about this guy called Finnegan who works in a bar and he falls off a ladder and he like lands on the floor and everyone thinks he's dead. Um, and they like splash some beer on him. They like splash some alcohol on him and then he like people think that he's like dead, so they start like having a wake for him, but then he actually wakes up after they splash water on him. And so that's the Finnegans Wake. And so it's basically the fall of man, right? Coming like literally, like again, this microcosm of this like one story of like a guy working in an Irish bar, falling and then being essentially baptized in oil and then rising again. And so it's the story of mankind who are all a series of Finnegans waking over and over again and falling. So that's the first word.